The air was thick with tension as Evelyn Carter stood on my lawn, one heel sinking into the grass, jabbing a finger at my security sign. "You're trespassing," she hissed, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "That gun your daughter pulled? That's a violation of Section 12, subarticle unlawful threat against HOA officers." I didn't blink. And Section 4 of the easement code says you can't stand on my property line after 2 warnings. I stepped closer, my boots firm on the ground. Besides, Sophie didn't threaten. She reacted. Big difference. Evelyn's eyes widened, caught off guard. "We have video evidence," she stammered. I smirked. "Funny, because that camera runs on a closed loop I installed back when I volunteered for the HOA. I wrote the firmware. Your evidence never left my server. I'm Jack Sullivan, 14 years in Army intelligence, 6 of them designing surveillance tech that leaves no trace. I don't back down, especially not in the yard my daughter nearly died defending. Let me know where you're watching from," I said, voice low. "This is going to get messy." It all started with a mailbox crooked bolt Sophie noticed. She's the kind of kid who reads every rule, who used to color inside the lines. She asked if she could fix it. I said go for it. The next day, a violation notice was taped to our door in screaming capitals, $75 fine for improper repair. It reeked of a power grab. I let it slide, thinking it was a one-off. My mistake. Evelyn Carter, the new HOA president, had been gunning for us ever since I outbid her for this lakefront lot in Pinewood Heights. She didn't know that lake was more than a viewit was where my dad's ashes were scattered, where Sophie and I fished every Sunday before the HOA paved over the community dock and slapped a plaque about beautification on the stump of our old bench. That bench was our anchor, our map to simpler days. They tore it out without a vote. By week 2, citations piled up, grass too tall, unauthorized hose storage, Sophie's wind chimes labeled a non-conforming ornament. "Dad?" Sophie asked one night, holding a pink slip, "Do they think we're made of money?" I was close to folding. Grief from losing my wife in a car crash 2 years ago had worn me thin. I wanted peace, not war. But war found me. It was a Thursday when Sophie parked her car 2 inches over the driveway line. I measured it. Evelyn stormed down the walk, phone out, her community compliance badge swinging like she was a sheriff. From the porch, I saw her get within 4 feet of Sophie, yelling. Sophie flinched, her hand brushing her jacket. She didn't draw her pistol, just gripped it. Evelyn screamed, "Gun!" 2 armed HOA volunteers off-duty and overzealous sprinted from her truck. One pointed a weapon at my 17-year-old daughter, who'd never fired outside a range. That's when I snapped. Not with a gun or a shout, but with my phone. 3 clicks, 1 secure upload. I had access to every HOA camera, knew which servers were local, which linked to Evelyn's garage router. I'd set them up during a volunteer weekend. They didn't know who I was. They were about to find out. This wasn't about lawn ornaments, Anna Marie, it was war. I didn't call the cops. The news would spin it as armed teen threatens HOA volunteer, with a blurry clip that hid the truth. Instead, I fixed the mailbox again, polished it until it gleamed. Control starts with the small things. By morning, the neighborhood group chat exploded. Evelyn's husband claimed we had military-grade surveillance gear. He wasn't wrong, but context matters. Then came the summons. An emergency HOA hearing at the rec center, 6 p.m., mandatory. No phone number, no rights listed, just mandatory. In my deployment days, we called that bait. I spent the day watching volunteers in golf carts circled our block. Evelyn paced the curb like a wannabe cop, and a new guy in loafers pretended to tie his shoe by my fence. I made tea and waited. Sophie didn't ask if she had to come. She just set her cup down and said, "They won't listen." I looked up. "They're not supposed to." She blinked. "Then why go?" "To make them nervous." She grinned, a spark of her mother's defiance. We drove to the meeting in silence. Sophie wore her gray hoodie. I wore my old combat boots. In the lot, I saw trucks about a dozen, no logos, just men with folded arms and shaded eyes. Old buddies. Word travels fast in our circles. Inside, Evelyn sat center stage, clipboard in hand, smug as ever. "I'm glad you're here, Mr. Sullivan," she said, her voice dripping with venom. "This is a disciplinary review for threatening behavior under Article 17. I stayed silent. "The footage we have, want you to play the raw version?" I cut in, calm but clear. From my server? She froze. A board member glanced at the laptop. Your cameras route through your home router, right? Asus AX6000, unsecured Node ID. Sophie did a packet capture. We have the footage full color, full context. The room inhaled. Evelyn scribbled with a flourish, but I caught a twitch from a man in the back gray beard, HOA treasurer, Nathan Holt. His silence screamed guilt. No decision was made that night, just Evelyn's promise of further review. Sophie walked out like she'd already won. At home, she sat on the porch steps, hoodie over her knees. They lied, she said, voice heavy with disappointment. And it doesn't matter. It does, I said. You just haven't made it hurt yet. The next day, 3 more violations arrived. A patched driveway crack, Sophie's kayak visible from the sidewalk, and menacing behavior toward HOA reps. They wanted us gone. I mounted new cameras too obvious, 3 hidden and dug into legal codes. Bureaucracy is a battlefield, and I'm a damn good soldier. On Tuesday, I caught Nathan staring at our house, coffee cup in hand, unsipped. I nodded, he walked away. That afternoon, Sophie found "move" scrawled on our driveway in chalk. She erased it before I could snap a photo. I'm not giving them the satisfaction, she said. Might get twisted like shrapnel. I called an old friend, Marcus, an ex-2D contractor who owed me favors. Might need eyes soon, I said. He sent a single emoji, eyes. That night, Sophie found a file in her mom's old attic box through original deed, our grandmother's name on it, with a note. Never sell, never surrender. This house was built by her hands after her husband died in the Gulf War. This is why we stay, I said. Sophie nodded. The next day, the HOA set up a checkpoint at our street's end. A volunteer, Derek, stood guard, logging plates. I waved, he didn't. That evening, Nathan left an envelope under our mapboard communications, handwritten notes, Evelyn's signature next to force eviction, use police bluff if necessary. It was illegal, and it was dynamite. Then Laura, a neighbor, showed up, eyes darting, clutching an HOA bulletin. I didn't mean to let them authorize drones over my house, she whispered. I thought they were bluffing. Sophie stormed past, brushing her shoulder. Tell that to the creep who followed me with a drone in the garden. Laura retreated, scared of the HOA too. That night, Sophie screamed from the backyard. I bolted to the shed, where a man in an HOA windbreaker crouched with a tool. Inspecting for code violations, he said, smirking. This shed's not on file. It predates your HOA, I snapped. Grandfathered. You've got no jurisdiction. He backed off, but the message was clear. They were tightening the screws. I stayed up past 2 a.m., combing bylaws, highlighting easements. Sophie dropped an old photo album on the table Grandpa building the shed after Mom died, a bench in front where Mom held Sophie as a baby. This is why we fight, I whispered. The next morning, Sophie found an envelope under that bench, sealed with wax, our name in Dad's handwriting. Inside, a Polaroid of him with a 1994 permit and a note. If they try to erase your roots, show them where we started. Taped to the photo was a map to city zoning files. In the basement, we found a lockbox with original plans and a letter from Dad. Don't let them bully you, Jack. This land is Sophie's future. At the town archives, a clerk handed me a dusty binder confirming our pre-HOA rights. Sophie and I scanned every document, building an airtight case. Laura knocked again, trembling, holding a folder. I can't do this anymore, she said. Inside were emails, forged citations with Sophie's name added post-submission. Evelyn forged them to break you, Laura confessed. If I testify, will you protect me? I don't make promises I can't keep, I said. But I'm done playing defense. We plan to sting with Marcus. Laura would confront Evelyn, asking about forgeries and drones, while Sophie pressed about guns. Marcus's team would record it legally. On Saturday, we knocked on Evelyn's door. Her smile tightened. Laura spoke first. There are rumors about forged violations, drones, guns. Evelyn's jaw clenched. Sophie jumped in. What about the night your guy pointed a gun at me? Evelyn slammed the door. We waited. Marcus's tech switched the hallway camera to record audio. Evelyn reopened the door, clutching a pendant chain. You were trespassing, she spat. Laura pressed. The violations have your signature added later. The zoning predates your HOA. Evelyn's voice broke. I did what I had to for community standards. Sophie pushed. You used guns to scare us? Evelyn sank. I was scared, she whispered. People complained. I panicked. Marcus's team stepped out. We recorded it, he said. Evelyn paled. The next week, we called a community forum at the church hall. Laura detailed the HOA's illegal formation. I spoke as a father. Evelyn pointed a gun at my daughter. That's not community, it's fear. I played Evelyn's confession. The room erupted. Neighbors stood, sharing their own stories, fines for gardens, wheelchair ramps. Laura motioned to dissolve the board. The vote was set for 3 days later, transparent, monitored by Marcus. Evelyn sent cease and desist letters, but neighbors were done. Signs reading "Fraud Alert" appeared, residents tore them down. At the final meeting, Evelyn arrived late, sunglasses hiding her eyes. I took the mic. I'm Jack Sullivan. My dad built this dock by hand. Evelyn fined veterans, bankrupted families, and hired a contractor who aimed a gun at Sophie. I held up forged amendments, a photo of the contractor. Laura revealed emails and audio. Let them lawyer up. We'll bury them. The crowd roared. Hands shot up to remove Evelyn. Deputies moved in. She sat, defeated. A neighbor unplugged a camera. Another dismantled a no parking sign. Sophie's eyes glistened, not fear, but triumph. It's ours now, I said. A week later, Evelyn faced charges, embezzlement, intimidation. The new board real, neighbors apologized. Frank pressure washed our sidewalk. Julie sent cupcakes. Laura gave Sophie law books, underlining property rights. On the dock Dad built, I screwed in a brass plaque for Tom Sullivan. Built by hand, protected by family. Sophie's handwriting added, we don't fold. We grilled burgers that night, string lights glowing. This wasn't about power, it was about dignity. Ever fought for your home? Dealt with an HOA nightmare? Tell me where you're at and share your story. I read every one. Let's show them we've got rules too.